Today, when we think of ancient Egypt, we usually picture silence, broken statues, empty temples, sand covering stone, a world frozen in time. But 4,500 years ago, Egypt was not silent. It was alive. The pyramids were not ruins yet. They were new, bright, sharp against the desert sky. The temples and tombs were not faded stone. Many were painted in reds, blues, yellows, and greens. The Nile was full of boats. The streets were full of people. Farmers worked in the fields. Merchants traded grain, linen, animals, copper, and stone. Workers moved before the heat became unbearable. Scribes recorded names, taxes, supplies, and orders. This was not just a place of kings and gods. It was a place of normal people trying to live. People baked bread, brewed beer, carried water, repaired tools, fed animals, argued, laughed, prayed, and worried about the same things humans have always worried about: food, family, work, status, death. And what came after death? That is what makes ancient Egypt so interesting. It was impressive because of what they built, but also because of the organization, belief, labor, and imagination it took to build it. Before the pyramids became symbols, they were construction sites. Before Egypt became history, it was someone's home. So to understand Egypt 4,500 years ago, we have to stop imagining ruins. We have to imagine it moving. Sandals on packed earth, smoke, animals, bread, and river water, sunlight on limestone, boats moving across the Nile. It was young, it was powerful, and it was still becoming one of the most unforgettable worlds humans ever created. The reason Egypt could become Egypt was not just the desert. It was the river cutting through it. From above, ancient Egypt would not look like endless sand. It would look like a thin green line moving through the desert. On both sides, dry land. But along the Nile, life. Every year the river flooded. When the water pulled back, it left behind dark, rich soil. In a place surrounded by desert, that soil changed everything. It meant food, villages, storage, trade, workers. The Nile was not just water, it was a road. Boats carried stone, grain, wood, animals, and people up and down the river. In a world without cars, trains, or engines, this was how Egypt stayed connected. The desert protected Egypt, but the Nile held it together. The river gave people a rhythm they could plan around. Farmers waited for the flood. Workers planned around the seasons. Scribes recorded harvests, supplies, and taxes. Over time, this rhythm shaped how Egyptians saw the world. The river rose. The river fell. The fields disappeared, then came back again. Life moved in cycles. So when Egyptians thought about death and rebirth, order and chaos, they were watching the world around them. The Nile taught them that life could vanish and return, that chaos could become order, that survival depended on balance. So when we imagine Egypt 4,500 years ago, we should not begin with the pyramids. We should begin with the water. Because in many ways, the Nile was ancient Egypt. And once the Nile made life possible, it shaped something even more interesting: daily life. Ancient Egypt was not just monuments, rulers, and giant construction projects. It was mornings, homes, meals, noise, work, and ordinary people trying to get through the day. If you walked through an Egyptian town 4,500 years ago, you would not be stepping into silence and stone. You would be stepping into movement. Mud brick houses stood close together to block the heat. Narrow streets filled with people carrying baskets, jars, tools, and linen. You would smell bread baking, smoke rising from ovens, river water, animals, dust, and the heat building as the sun climbed higher. Most people lived simple lives. Their homes were practical, not grand. Mud brick walls, woven mats, wooden stools, pottery, storage jars, and shaded courtyards. Food was basic but steady. Bread was everywhere, beer too, along with onions, dates, grains, and whatever else the season and river made possible. Clothing was light. Linen was common. Jewelry mattered too, for beauty, status, identity, and belief. And everywhere there was work. Farmers in the fields, boatmen on the river, craftsmen shaping wood and stone, potters turning clay into jars, scribes writing down supplies, harvests, payments, and names. Even ordinary life was organized. Egypt was not a chaotic civilization barely surviving in the desert. It was structured, measured, ordered. People knew their roles, they understood the seasons. They lived close to the river, the work, and the expectations of society. And yet, daily life was still deeply human. Parents raised children. Workers got tired, people argued. People laughed. They ate together, traded, repaired things, planned ahead, and worried about the future. That is the part of ancient Egypt we often forget. It was not just a civilization of stone. It was a civilization of people. And if you really imagine it, that is where Egypt becomes most real. Not only in the pyramids, but in the homes, in the streets, in the markets, in the ovens, and in the workshops, in the thousands of ordinary lives that made the whole world feel alive. And this is what makes ancient Egypt feel so strange. It was ordinary life and impossible scale at the same time. Small homes beside giant monuments, bread ovens near temples, dusty streets beneath a sky full of gods. To the people who lived there, Egypt was not ancient. It was the present. The sound of work in the morning, the heat of the afternoon, the glow of fire at night, and the belief that life had meaning beyond what could be seen. Because when we look at Egypt now, we see ruins. But behind those ruins, there was once color, movement, voices, hands building, writing, carrying, praying, and trying to leave something behind. So Egypt, 4,500 years ago, was not just pyramids in the desert. It was a living world. And for a moment, if we imagine it clearly enough, the stones are not silent anymore. Maybe that is why ancient Egypt still feels so powerful now. Not just because of what it built, but because behind every stone was a human life. Someone carrying, shaping, planning, hoping, and trying to leave something behind. The tools are gone. The voices are gone. But the need to build, remember, and leave something behind is still here. Across 4,500 years, that part still feels familiar. And maybe that is what makes us human.